Good. What is today? Today Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday. Okay. We're all off since we had caucus this week, so good Wednesday morning, everybody. We are in a subcommittee for House File 2121. We have this room for 30 minutes, and so we're going to go ahead and get started because we want to take your input. So this bill is an act prohibiting school districts, charter schools, and innovation zone schools from providing any program, curriculum, test, survey, questionnaire, promotion, or instruction relating to gender theory or sexual orientation instruction in grades 7 through 12. Lots of familiar faces in here. I think you guys all know the drill. We are respectful, we are kind to one another. We are going to take 90 seconds for time at the table. So we, of course, will rotate somebody in opposition to the bill and somebody in support of the bill. So please be cognizant of everybody's, I know this is a topic that is emotionally charged. That's why we always get great crowds for these, and we appreciate your time. We appreciate you coming in to share your thoughts. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Please keep in mind the time, and then we will have a timer going too, so we can hear from everybody. So go ahead and come up to the table, and we will take turns, and we'll start with somebody opposed to the bill. So if you want to go ahead and come up, come up.
Good morning, my name is Heather Ryan. I am with the organization Bitches Get Stuff Done. We are registered opposed to this bill for the obvious reasons that it hurts children. My child identifies with the LGBTQ group. Excuse me, this is an emotional topic. And I think that that's why you have emotionally charged people here, and that's why you have a big group, because we care. And we care about our children being hurt and alienated and excluded. And every time you guys pass legislation like this, that's exactly what it does. And to my child particularly, they feel less than, they feel alienated. And it's not easy being in the LGBTQ community when you're in high school. Do you know what it's like to be a junior in high school at all, just as a regular kid, let alone being different? And every time you guys take a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more from the community, you hurt those kids. And my kid has been institutionalized for depression because of this stuff. When does that start to matter? When do you start to care about more than just yourselves? It's absolutely insane that you're saying you're pro-life when you do this to kids. So yeah, it's emotionally charged. I wonder why, because I value my child more than you do.
Somebody in support of the bill, please.
Is it on? Okay. My name is Catherine Bogarts, and I am from Protect My Innocence out of Pella. As a grandparent, I am grateful to see this common sense legislation brought forward. House File 2121 gives families confidence that schools will remain focused on academics and age-appropriate, research-based health education, not topics that confuse or overwhelm the students. Supporting this bill is about preserving family values, respecting parental authority, and ensuring minors are allowed to grow up without unnecessary pressure related to sexual orientation and gender identity. I respectfully ask you to pass this bill. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Bethany Snyder, and I live in Dallas County in Urbandale, and I'm here as a parent. Last week, our kid woke us up with a stomach bug. She threw up more times than I can count, and we spent the weekend doing what parents do, rotating laundry, checking temperatures, sitting on the bathroom floor, worrying, hoping she'd feel better soon. That's our family life, ordinary, familiar, the same as thousands of other families across Iowa, the same as your family, and the same as yours. And yet, under bills like this, families like mine are expected to disappear. I'm a lesbian and my partner is a transgender man. We're raising a high schooler at Valley High School. A kid who goes from moments like this, puking with her parents' support, directly into a school day where families like hers are being debated and restricted by the adults in this building. And yet, when it comes to everyday life, we're doing the same things every other parent does, worrying, showing up, trying to raise a decent human being. And like every parent, we want our child to feel safe at school, supported by the adults around her, and prepared for adulthood. But bills like this take something ordinary and make it feel risky, even shameful. They turn normal family conversations into something that has to be avoided. They teach kids which families can be talked about easily and which ones are better left unnamed. And they teach kids like mine that their family's easier to erase than to respect. Schools should reflect the real lives of students they serve. The real world my children are being prepared for includes LGBTQ people, like parents, teachers, legislators, historical figures, neighbors, coworkers. Silence doesn't protect kids, it isolates them, and it makes schools less honest and safe. My child exists, our family exists, and no law will change that. Thank you, Bethany.
All right, somebody in support of the bill, please.
Hey everybody, Jeff Pitts speaking for the Iowa Faith and Freedom Coalition. I'll keep my remarks brief today. It's our position that political indoctrination ought not be done on the taxpayer dime in public institutions. For that reason, well, this bill would be a step closer in that direction, so we support the bill. Thank you.
My name is Kayla Anderson. I am a resident of Waukee, Dallas County, and I am just here to share my thoughts on this. This bill does not protect children in our schools. We send our children to schools because they are meant to be a safe place for truth and education, not to be silenced and for fear. Banning words goes against our freedom of speech, and it certainly does not make our children any safer in our schools. It is hard enough to be in high school. I don't know, I'm sure you all can remember at high school at one point, and it's not easy, let alone being vulnerable. And we are leaving these children, as if this goes through, to feel isolated and unsupported. And that's all I have to say.
My name is Audrey Henning, and I am a junior at Valley High School, and I am here representing Young Feminist Club. Not allowing the topic of homosexuality in schools will cause a significant decrease in the mental health of individuals in the LGBTQ+ community. Banning these topics might make a student feel less than or improper over something they simply cannot control. As for learning, I am currently in AP Lit, and understanding the sexuality of an author or character is often very important to understanding the story you're reading. As for students, some people's only safe space may be a teacher in school. Not having a trusted adult to talk about who you are or your identity is devastating to the young and growing mind. Students may not feel safe asking their parents or guardians about certain topics in their lives. The only times these questions might be answered are when communicating with a trusted teacher. Without answers, these children will go around confused and feeling ashamed of themselves and their bodies. This bill is essentially telling these kids that they are not accepted in schools, nor should they even be talked about. Can you imagine that? School is supposed to be a safe space for children. How would this help their safety? This puts a target on their backs, making it even more likely for them to be bullied. Many children in the LGBTQ community already struggle with mental health issues. A survey done by the Trevor Project in 2024 shows that approximately 39% of LGBTQ youth have seriously considered attempting suicide, and roughly 1 in 10 children attempted to take their life in that past year. On top of this, 90% of the LGBTQ youth have claimed that their well-being was negatively impacted due to recent politics.
We are out of time. Thank you so much. We're going to go on to our next speaker, please. Somebody in support of the bill. Oh, you're not ready? Okay. Yes, sir, you go ahead.
My name is Jeff Anderson. I'm the legislative advocate for the Iowa Conference of the United Methodist Church, and we strongly oppose this bill. Our young people look for answers in conversations on important topics and questions, including those surrounding sexuality, and those are going to include questions about gender and sexual orientation. And we believe that comprehensive, medically accurate, and age-appropriate instruction and information, including information relating to gender and sexual orientation, makes students better informed, healthier, and safer, and that content instruction be based on science rather than political and ideological agendas. We think excluding these topics has the potential to do harm to all students, and we fear that it has the potential to do emotional and psychological violence to students of the LGBT community. When exclusion of particular topics whether it's in this or in other bills, is included, I think it begs the question, if it's being excluded, why? Is it because it should never be talked about? Or something else should be talked about? And I guess I would just challenge those who support the bill, if they were going to have the option to do a strike and replace, what would they replace? What would be educated in these bills? I would be curious as to know what that is, and whether that, and the one thing I would say we do celebrate is in terms of gender roles and things like that. We're very supportive, and I think I really appreciate, we would celebrate the fact that the makeup of this committee, that's something that we would say is something really to celebrate in terms of not just gender, but gender roles and gender identity. And we would strongly encourage you to oppose this bill. Thank you.
My name is Ryan Ben. I'm with the Family Leader. We're in support of the bill. I just want to start off by reading what the bill says so we know what we're talking about here. It says a school district shall not provide any program, curriculum, test, survey, questionnaire, promotion, or instruction related to two things: gender identity or sexual orientation. So I think the way opponents of this bill are labeling it, I think it sets up a straw man as to what it is. This bill is about what our schools can teach, promote, and ask students about. It doesn't limit anyone's freedom of speech or topics students can discuss. It's not a license to bully or abuse or anything like that. I also think it's important to know what gender theory is. That's also defined in codes. It means a concept that an individual may properly be described in terms of an internal sense of gender that is incongruent with the individual's sex as either male or female. So as it's defined there, what we're saying it cannot be taught is something that is just flat out wrong. It doesn't matter what age your kids are. The biological reality of two distinct genders, male and female, is what kids should be taught. And we appreciate that Iowa law already protects students in K through 6 from being exposed to gender theory, but older kids shouldn't be subjected to it either. So we're really appreciative of the bill. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Caricia Crawley. I am a law student at Drake University, and I oppose this bill. I oppose this bill because, looking at conservative principles, there's a man named Russell Kirk. He gives 10 conservative principles, one of those being the principle of prudence. He says that liberals and radicals are imprudent, for they dash at their objectives without giving much heed to the risk of new abuses worse than the evils they hope to sweep away. Unfortunately, that is what the conservatives are doing here today. They don't see with the foresight of what happens or what occurs when this bill is passed. I don't believe Republicans will be in power for all that much longer if bills like this keep getting pushed and introduced into the legislation. I saw the very same thing in Arizona when Arizona was red in 2019 until a similar bill was overruled by the U.S. District Court in Arizona. After that, Arizona turned blue. This bill is a sweeping ideology that rushes to conclusions about what is taught. I was a sociology major, and I too did have to learn the difference between gender and biological sex, and many sociologists believe that there is a difference, and that is rooted in empirical sciences as well as the social sciences. I oppose the bill because I believe that we are not thinking ahead of what this actually means for high school students who have the agency to choose.
Thank you, Kristen. Nathan? Oh, no, we're going to go here, and then we'll go Nathan.
Hi, my name is Eli Cade. I am in opposition to this bill simply because I think it's pretty goofy. Kids have the internet. They have ways of learning these things. when they learn these things and come to school, they should be able to ask somebody who has an education about what this is that they learned. That's what they go to school for. I don't think that there's any school that's just sending out a, hey, tell us if you're gay. Like basically, what was it, survey? And the idea of just stifling the speech that you can have at school is just goofy. The entire premise of this is to make it harder for LGBTQ students to exist. And I don't get why we keep wanting them to go back into the closet and feel as though they don't belong. I don't get it. And if someone could explain that to me, that'd be great.
Nathan Arnold, Professional Educators of Iowa. We've registered in favor of the bill, not because we want to weigh in on hot button political issues, but precisely because most teachers don't want to be dragged into those issues. They want to have good relationships with their students, but there always has to be a wall of professionalism, and conversations about sexuality just are not appropriate for the school. Understand that they take place between students in the hallways all the time, but the teachers I know usually try to steer clear of that kind of thing, and that's the reason we've registered the way we have, so thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Steve Seek. I serve First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. Thank you for your public service. I know this is a hard conversation. I would strongly advocate that this bill be dismissed. If the goal is to instruct on human sexuality and self-esteem and stress management, then pretending that LGBTQ adolescents or their parents or their siblings can't be talked about, I feel, is counterproductive. If 27% of the LGBTQ population in Iowa have kids, including my neighbors, I'm not sure how my neighbors are supposed to fill out any survey or questionnaire about their home or discussion about their home life if they're unable to refer to their two moms. I'm not sure how the 25% of teens who identify as LGBTQ are supposed to learn about relationships or sexuality or gender or self-esteem or stress management if they're not allowed to talk about that. I do commend the research-based clause, but I don't see that here. I don't see the Ad Health study, the ABCD study, the Trevor Project 2024 study, or any of the myriad of studies that indicate that a healthy and respectful acknowledgement of sexual differences and gender differences improves not just LGBTQ children's experience, but also straight children. So for what it's worth, Jesus said nothing about homosexuality, but a lot about passing moralistic laws. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to give a brief public comment and for bringing this bill forward. First, I think it would behoove the committee to, gather more examples of current programs and curriculum that are taking place. I guess I'm feeling a little bit naive in terms of what actually is or isn't taking place in the classroom. Gender theory, as was pointed out, is defined in Iowa law, and the definition is pretty good. I think if gender theory is being discussed as a theory in the classroom to be debated by students, I think that's probably fairly appropriate and necessary. In terms of the scientific background and how exactly this would be taught, I think several things come to mind in terms of and for me, I'd say grades 10 through 12 for these types of subjects, but talk about the story of David Raymer and Dr. John Money and some of the history there. There's a great philosophical treatise, Transgender to Transhuman, by Dr. Martine Rothblatt, which actually, interestingly enough, intersects with some of the computer science topics we've been talking about. There's a lot of interesting legal questions, particularly pertaining to medical malpractice, legal questions surrounding complaints of women in prison being raped by transgender inmates. I think high school students probably are mature enough to debate that and discuss that in a classroom setting. Also other works of art like, The Matrix, and how that's a philosophical work with transgender creators who, interestingly enough, also talk about the link to pornography and obscenity. So I think there's a lot of things that could, sink their teeth into if gender theory is just debated as a theory in the classroom. So,
thank you, and we are coming to the close, but I want to get a couple more of you. Let's have you, and I know you've been at the table for a little while, so let's do you too.
Hi, thank you. My name is the Reverend Lizzie Gilman, and I'm an Episcopal priest here in Des Moines. I'm also a mother of a high school student and of a sixth grader.
My sixth grader wanted to come and talk to you today, but unfortunately, you're kind of scary to her. But if I may say a couple of words, if I can paraphrase our dinner conversations, let me say this. The bill that was passed last year is not working out so great. Some of my friends don't have parents that they can talk to about the feelings that they have inside, and they rely on their teachers and our guidance counselor group to help us through this. But they don't have anybody, Mom. Who can they have? So she didn't want to come here today, but I am going to text her right after to tell her that yes, I did speak to these people, and I did share your story and what's happening with your friend group right now. But also as an Episcopal priest, I do want to echo that Jesus never said anything about gender or homosexuality. Jesus was all about love. And so what I want to know is that when we marginalize these students at a young age where they can pick it up, they're sixth graders, they're pretty smart. And then we have a high schooler here who's incredibly intelligent and in AP classes. We have FFA kids who were roaming these halls last week, and obviously some of them are also queer as well. So what I want to understand as I'm wrapping this up is I'd like you to understand whose dignity matters here. Whose dignity in the classroom.
Thank you very much. And I know we're going to be running out of time. Let's take our last speaker. I apologize for those that we didn't get squeezed in. We do have a meeting here at 9 o'clock in this room. So will you finish us off, please?
Hello, my name is Annie Craven. I'm a resident of Dallas County, Urbandale, and I just wanted to tell you guys a personal anecdote. I am an openly bisexual woman. I was homeschooled, very traditional Catholic. I didn't know bisexual people existed when I was a kid. That didn't make me any less queer. It did make me feel very alone and isolated and different. I resent that gender identity is being touted as political or something that we can debate or theorize. It's immutable. It caused great harm to me as a person and as a kid growing up to not know that there were other people like me and to think that I was so different and I didn't understand why. So I strongly ask that you vote no on this bill. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Annie. And in our last 5 minutes here, we are going to turn it over to our legislators. We're going to have final comments, and then we'll empty out the room. I will have Representative Levin go first, please.
Thank you, Chair Hayes. I think to no one's surprise, I stand in strong opposition to this bill. I mean, currently I sit, but I am in strong opposition to this bill. I am myself queer. I have been since I was born. It is part of my existence. I experienced no great trauma or abuse growing up. In fact, I grew up in an incredibly healthy and happy family with no direct queer role models, and yet somehow this is who I am anyway. To pretend that queer people do not exist is neither workable nor wise in thinking about how we care for our kids. I have a few questions about this bill. One is, why are we seeking to further legislate something that's already in the courts waiting for adjudication? Another is, why, if this is so vitally important, does it apply to charter and public but not private schools? And finally, how is this helping Iowans afford their daily cost of life?
Representative Levin, and comments from Representative Larson. All right, with that then, I do want to make a few comments. I do find it interesting. In this bill, when we look at this bill, there's really technically just one word that changes. And this is what the bill does. It's a very blank piece of paper here. Changes 6 to 12. This is not what I feel like the bill does. These are some of the comments I have received in emails about the extent that this bill goes to. And I find it shocking that we take a very narrow thing and we just sort of expand it so that it becomes everything. Here's what I do think we agree on. I want to talk, was it Jeff Anderson? You asked the question, if we could strike and replace this with something, I think most teachers that I speak to, they come to me and they say, my kids can't read. My kids can't read. Maybe we could replace it with more reading, like teaching them how to actually code words, how to read big words. Can we stick to curriculum like language, English, math, music, visual arts, history? I don't think we all know that statutory law can set standards, and we can mandate content, we can impose limits. We all know that that is what the legislature can and does do. It's within our prerogative. But this is a very narrow bill. It simply says, teachers, please focus on educational topics. Please talk about academics. And that's what we're asking our educators to do. And that's as simple as it is. Stay focused on the topic at hand. And that is, we want to graduate intelligent, articulate, critical thinkers into this world. So with that, the clock says we are done in this room, and I thank everybody for coming. Have a fantastic day.